Same, mate. Same. So great to meet you. And, mate, I've got to say congratulations on the film. I've had a chance to sit down and watch it, and congratulations.
Oh, thank you, man. I'm really excited about it. I honestly have never been more pumped about being in a project, nor have I been part of a franchise. So it's a great feeling.
That was actually going to be one of my questions. How does it feel being asked to be part of one of the biggest franchises in the world? A franchise that's loved by horror films right around the world.
Yeah, man. Well, you said it right there. It's been around. This is the 12th installment, and it's just a thrill. When this came up 2 years ago, I just saw David because we're all here at Universal. That's when we first met back in 2019. It was sort of at the end of the summer, and then I did my screen test. But it was a great opportunity. It really was, and I really love and enjoy working with David. He's brilliant, and I love that he and Danny and Scott have done something really cool and very unique. They were able to sort of thread all the characters from the original film, as you know, into the new sequel, and I'm just pumped about it. And I love the fact that there's a real, as you said, like a real anticipation for the film with audiences, and that's a great feeling. But also knowing that he delivered such a great film, it's really incredible. So I'm really just jazzed about it.
Definitely, and it comes out here in Australia on Halloween as well. How cool is that?
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, cool. So it's like a 2 week delay there. Oh, that's good stuff. I'd like to hear that. Great.
So, Anthony, tell us a little bit about your past with the franchise. Were you a fan of the Halloween films, going back to the originals?
I was, as a kid. I'm 53 now, Dave. So in the late 70s, the movie was made in 78. So it was probably on cable in 79 or 80. And I do have memories of watching that first one. I always had a big crush, actually, on Jamie Lee when I was a kid. And I remember watching that first film when I was a little kid. And I think the thing that stuck out in my mind's eye is I remember those suspenseful scenes where she's sort of walking around the neighborhood and Carpenter was shooting her from across the street. You know what I mean? And it's like that sense of suspense and also obviously all the kills and everything. I mean, yeah, it left an indelible mark on me as a kid. So I love that. And all the years later, I was not someone who really followed the horror genre, but this was one that I always loved. And so my wife and I were in the movie theaters 3 years ago when the other film came out, and we loved it. So obviously you never know where you're going to wind up. It's just a wonderful, very fortunate thing to be a part of this. And the people were just great. I mean, I really want to underscore that. I had a great time working for David and Danny, and Jamie Lee is a great leader too. She's really a lot of fun and very easygoing. And the whole thing was a real pleasure. The other thing that's worth noting is that they have a great crew that have worked on all of their shows with them. So they have a real shorthand with the guys and the women that are on their crew. That's fantastic. So there was a great level of excitement from them, and also everyone has a good laugh too. Even though we're making a horror film, there's a great sense of humor and a great spirit on the set. I found, which is great too.
Yeah, I found when I was doing my interviews for the last Halloween film that talking to David, he was such an amazing guy to chat to. What is he like to work with as a director? Because to me, he comes across as a director that is a brilliant director.
He really is. I think so too. One of the things he said to me when we first met back in the late summer of 2019 was just how they had recently moved back east. He and his family and Danny and his family, but there's just an ease about him, right? So he was just explaining how they go from comedy to this horror world. And to answer your question, he's just got a real ease about him. He obviously has a great talent as a writer and a filmmaker and has a working knowledge that's right there. But he's got an effortless, charm and ease about him, and he's very collaborative, and just has full respect for everybody, and that's always the right currency on set, right? Everyone has to show respect and kind of stay open to where the ideas come from. So I found him to be incredibly cool that way, and kind of getting ideas from anywhere. It could be guys on the crew, it could be the grip, it could be the sound guy. He's very inclusive in terms of the collaborative approach, and I think that that's very healthy. And I also think it's a talent because I think a lot of people just don't have that. Some directors are more, they can be different in many ways, cagey or just more sort of by the book, but he's very fluid about his process, and I found that to be really, really cool.
Yeah. And one of the things that they've done, you mentioned before, that has been so cool with this Halloween franchise has been bringing back characters from the past. Now, of course, you play Tommy, who's a very iconic character. What did you sit down with David and Danny and find out what they wanted from you as Tommy in this film?
No, you know what? I kind of just used my own guts and instinct on that, and I just approached the material at the screen test level, just how I saw it fit. You know, I mean, I just felt that what's been interesting is in the last 2 years, I've really gotten hip and educated myself on the whole universe. You know, the fans globally of this franchise are enormous, and as you know, they're very specific about all 11 other films, so they can tell you everything about the masks and the cast and the different and alternate universes. You know what I mean? Whether they're fans of Rob Zombie's versions or not, or they're so specific about what they love about the franchise. So I felt with this, we didn't really have any of those conversations that you alluded to. It was more just kind of trusting the script and going with it. But one of the things I think is really interesting and worth noting is that obviously there's a sort of mob mentality that arises because, as you saw in the film, all the survivors have gathered together at the beginning of the movie to kind of commiserate and as survivors just kind of support each other. But really what happens, it's almost like a wave at a soccer game or a sporting event, like this wave of heroism kind of kicks in where everyone realizes we've got to come together and really fight this. So, I'm grateful for Danny and David and Jamie Lee and Jason Blum for giving me this kind of very, heroic role in Tommy. But the truth is, that's what all the characters, all the townspeople become. We kind of join forces and rally against him. And I think it's also that classic trope in a good way of good versus evil, which you see in old westerns or you see in Marvel films or, you see in literature. It's obviously, it's age old, So yeah. I think with this, you have a really nice level of conflict because you have the whole town rising up with this sort of heroic energy to really combat him and to take him on. And I think that it just really lends itself to the momentum and the great job that David did with the pacing of the film. I mean, they've done a really brilliant job because, as you saw, it's really like a freight train, man. Once the movie starts, I mean, yeah, there are definitely these moments of suspense which kind of lead you into the action, but it's just incredible. It's really a thrill ride. So that was really my first takeaway when I saw it with my wife. I was like, wow, talk about servicing an audience. It was really like it gave me fresh eyes in terms of an accomplishment. This movie is really going to flip out the fans, and I also think will attract new people to it.
Definitely. Did you just go with what they had on the script for you for Tommy? You said you used your gut, but did you also go back and watch the past reincarnations of Tommy on screen as well?
Yeah, I had seen 2018, and I did look at the original film, but one of the things that's interesting is that Tommy's character as a little boy, because he's traumatized by the babysitter being killed, is he kind of starts this idea of like you can't kill the boogeyman, right? That actually comes from Tommy as a little boy. But I think one of the things that Jamie has spoken at length about is the sense of trauma that she and her daughter and her granddaughter have endured, right, as victims to him. But I think that that's something that also encompasses the whole town. So there's plenty there to work with in terms of just the energy that we all kind of had to corral to kind of get into it, And again, there was all this really healthy, great energy just from the crew and everybody making the film. Everybody, background people, actors, crew, everybody was just really jazzed to deliver and step it up because obviously the last one was such a massive hit, So that was also really tangible to me. When I got to the set, you really felt that care. And also, again, having fun with it too. Not anyone taking it too seriously, but really taking the work seriously, which is great.
I know we are running out of time very, very quickly. So before I go, I'd love to ask just a quick two-parter. First of all, are you prepared now for the fan conventions? Because that is a big part of the horror franchise. And what would you like to say to people out there who are going to head along and check out Halloween Kills?
Great question. Yeah, well, you know what? Since I did the Dead Zone back in the early 2000s, I've been doing the conventions. I've done them for about a decade or a little bit longer, actually. So I really enjoyed doing those, and I welcome that. I think it will be a whole new level of it because, as you said, these films are beloved, and you have 4 decades of fans that follow this franchise. So I'm just pumped for it, And as I said, I've never been a part of a franchise like this or anything even close to this. So it's really fun, especially knowing that everybody that collaborated and worked on it really delivered. So I would just say to people that are going to see it, really enjoy the ride because it really is kind of like a roller coaster, or and a freight train all at once. It really just comes at you, the movie. But I think it also ticks all those boxes. It has great performances, a good story, and I think it's really all there. So I'm just so pumped that it's really will be, I think, a fan favorite. It's going to be a film that people really respond to in terms of the audiences that love this franchise.
Awesome.